And we've had some good moments. We've had some good moments. And from there we would like you lived probably we distance was an issue in our relationship. We didn't live really near each other initially, but you would often come into the city, and each time you came into the city we would try to do lunch, or we'd go to different events together and try to kind of match up our schedules. And yeah, just became friends over time at different ways of showing up in each other's lives at different events and whatnot. And then 4 or 5 years ago, we both went through some pretty big life changes during the pandemic. And I would say our relationship deepened to a whole nother level. We both ended up moving to Napa. And during that time, like, we were each other's closest friend. And so we just had that joy of doing life together in a much more close way, and getting to see each other weekly and walk together and do life together. And so that was I'm very sad I had to move away from there, but that was a good
I
season of our
totally agree. I
friendship.
actually did that Alta Heights walk the other day, and I felt kind of verklempt. I think that's the word about because we used to do those walks and then we would have
Oh,
amazing talks. So yeah, I miss you a lot.
yeah, yeah, I do too. It's amazing how friendships can have these ebbs and flows and different seasons in them. And when we were talking about what to come and have our conversation around, one of the things we have had to navigate is the falling out of a mutual friend. And so, as I mentioned at the top, we don't want to, this isn't about that. It's not me talking about what happened between me and her as much as it's about the fact that, in essence, I unintentionally hurt her feelings really, really bad, and in a way that I could not repair, in a way that left her feeling very upset with me. And so I have lots of you might be familiar with, I have a very popular video series on YouTube called Surviving a Friendship Breakup. And this is that situation. So I basically kind of lost a friend, and I had introduced you to her, and we were part of a small group together. And so here we are, five of us navigating life together, and she and I have a falling out. And so that is just such a tricky thing to navigate. And so I kind of want to go back to that moment. Take me back to what you remember about that time and when you knew there was a problem, and yeah, kind of the unfolding of that. And we can then kind of fast forward up through the years as my friendship with her ended and yours
Yeah.
continued to develop.
It's all kind of murky for me because I don't remember either of you calling me and saying, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," at all. In fact, I remember you both kind of not talking about it and then me drawing my own conclusions that something must have happened. And in a way, that made things easier because I thought a lot about this conversation we were going to have and how I feel like I'm in my 50s, you're in your 40s. I feel like if this had happened in other decades, like our 20s or our 30s even,
Mm.
I think there would have
Mm-hmm.
possibly been a
Mm-hmm.
different kind of outcome because we've lived long enough to know that these things happen. They're not always personal, they're not always repairable, as you just said, and that we don't have to try to force fit everyone to like each other. And I think this was a great example of neither of you asked me to gossip about the other or to drop the other. And so it really was kind of a non event for me in that regard. But of course, it made me sad that we couldn't all hang out together. But I respected how each of you handled it. And it kind of reinforced, why I'm friends with each of you. I mean, I do remember when it happened, I was not as close to her as I am now. And that's largely because she and I live near each other now. But if you had asked me, made me choose, um, you were definitely the
Mm-hmm.
closer friend. So I think it would have been an easy choice for me, but I'm glad that you didn't ask me to choose.
Yeah, I remember back then having the falling out and backing away and kind of being a little, I don't know, delaying our next girls' gathering together. I remember everybody was starting to text to try to find out the date, and I was kind of hoping that she would. I kind of wanted to back off and let her frame it how she wanted to frame it, and have her be the one to inform you guys whether she was dropping out of the group or why. And I kind of wanted to give her that benefit of framing it herself. And then I just, it became kind of clear that she wasn't going to. And I think that's when I think I reached out to each of you individually and kind of tried to keep it casual and ambiguous, but just like FYI, I hurt her feelings. I feel like I wanted to take responsibility for that, but I didn't get into why or how, other than just saying, I don't think she's going to keep coming to our group. And I'm so sorry, and just, might have to, if you want to keep up that friendship, have to reach out to her individually or something. Like, that's how I kind of remember it going. And I remember, like, I mean, let's be very honest, the ego, there was definitely a part of me that, like, you guys knew her, like, that's why it's so tricky, because you want to go to the people who, like, know both
Yeah.
of you in some ways, it's like you want to hash this out with the people and be like, oh my goodness, what do I do here? And oh, this hurts. And I was crying and I was grieving, like, but I didn't want to, like, and so you were the people, on the one hand, my friends that I would want to talk about it with, and on the other hand, being very clear that I didn't want to, like, ruin your friendships with each other, and trying to, like, hold those two things where they can both be true. Like, I can be hurt and angry and sad and feel all the things, and I also don't, this isn't their friendship with her, and they can still have great friendships with her, which is so hard to do sometimes. Like, our brains want to think that if I can't have a good friendship with her, then either something's wrong with me or something's wrong with her, and therefore all the rest of you need to vote and decide which one the person, and like almost like this feeling like, yeah, I can see why so many people navigate this and have a hard time, like, wanting people to choose one side or the other. But yeah, it was really hard to kind of navigate that. Did you ever feel like, I think I look back on her as kind of stepping out of the situation, which may have been a gift. I mean, it would have been a harder thing to navigate if we were both, like, to your point, trying to get you to do different things, or if she was trying to create a separate group, or like there was nothing like that kind of pulled. She didn't do anything to pull. Did you feel dropped by her when she did
Um,
that?
Again, it's so murky, which really underscores how we think everyone's talking about us and thinking about it all the time, and really everyone's in their own lives.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
I didn't feel rejected, and I think I made the first overture to get together with her again, and maybe that was a green light to her that, I wanted to still, keep her in my life. And then again, as I moved into the same hometown where she lived, it, became really fun to hang out with her. And but Shasta, you just said a couple of really important things that I think you are such a inspiration to so many people on the topic of friendship, myself included. I mean, I always joke that I'm friends with a professional friend, like you're a friendship expert, and you have, but you take
No pressure though,
friendship
right?
so seriously in such a beautiful way. And I think it's actually good, although it's painful. And I remember how hurt you were. I think it's good for people to see that these things happen to everyone, and that you have a statistic you use a lot in your research about how women replace half their friends every 7 years. And I think that's such an important stat to keep repeating, because we have this chronic finisher mentality of, like, anything that isn't forever is worth nothing. When in reality, what is that phrase? For a reason, for a season, or forever. And not every friend is a forever friend. And that doesn't mean she was wrong or you were wrong or anything. And so I think this is such a beautiful conversation, because it gives us the freedom to say, okay, I'm going to learn what I can. And I know you felt your feelings. You really felt them. You didn't run away from them. And that's kind of the gig that you're teaching the rest of us how to do.